What have been the highlights of this band and the worst moments? I bet there are a lot of them, but...
Lots of highlights, you know. I think highlights are almost every day. You know, people sometimes think, so 20 years ago when the highlights, or 10 years ago, and there's loads of highlights. I don't think there's been any bad points to the band. The only bad point, I think, was probably Eric Carr's illness and his death. Other than that, that's a tragedy. Other than that, there are no bad points. When there are bad times, you fix them. If there are bad people, you throw them out.
Get rid of them.
So there's never been, you know, if something is bad, you fix it. This means enough to us that we do that.
How about you? Your best moment
Best
in
moment?
this band?
There have been a lot of them, but I remember when we were first signed to this new record company that didn't have a name yet, the record company president came in and he said, I really like this band and I'll sign them, but are you sure about the makeup? He wasn't sure we should wear the makeup. We were signed to Casablanca Records, the first record company, and they never saw the picture of the band. They just heard the music. And then when he saw us, he couldn't believe we wore makeup. So probably a good relief, a good feeling was that we could do it our way and wear the makeup, even though somebody else didn't believe in it. And a bad moment?
Silent Rage.
Probably the
Zeros.
snowstorm that hit us when we were in Helsinki. I don't know.
That's what Bon Jovi told us. What's wrong with the Finnish weather?
The Finnish weather was wonderful, but there was we were in our hotel and there was snow like 5 feet
It's
high.
unbelievable. Unbelievable. The funny thing is, when you're used to that kind of weather, we're looking out the windows like we're seeing a blizzard like we've never seen before, and across the street there are people building another building. You know, they're outside working, and as though it's, you know,
Summer.
everything's fine and we're outside working. Very
To me, it
strange.
looked like being on the moon, but beautiful. Where are we now? We're celebrating the release of our new album, Revenge, which people seem to like an awful lot, even critics.
How did
And
you find the title? Did you discuss it a lot? Or?
Paul
No.
actually thought of the title.
It's just a good title. You know, it says, you know, it is our revenge. If anyone thought we couldn't do a great album, if anybody thought that we were living on the past, if the best was behind us, then you put out a great album, and that's revenge. We can look at each other and say, we are Kiss.
That's good.
That's true.
As opposed to
We are
Youngbloods.
We are
You're
not
right.
Kiss. We're smarter in that we've done, you know, we've worked a lot and we're better musicians, but I think we are in the shadow sometimes of what we've done in the past. So in doing Revenge, it was very important that we rise to be as great as some people think we were. Some people think we're great now, but there are other people who say, oh, they did great stuff 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So in the studio this time, I think we compete with ourselves, and we were very much determined to outdo ourselves, to do a better record than we've done in a long time. Not because the other ones we didn't try, but because now we were ready to go that extra mile, work a little harder, push ourselves to make sure that this was a classic Kiss album.
How about your atmosphere? Are you a big family, or is there somebody who's the boss in the
No.
studio, maybe the producer, who chooses like the final mix or something?
Everybody has a mouth, and
You vote and stuff like that?
not voting so much, more passion. The most important thing that winds up is who feels strongest about something. And everybody has enough respect for themselves, but for the other people, to realize that when somebody's really crazy about something, and if you keep insisting, and if you're not sure about your point of view, then they must feel something that you don't see. I think a lot of times nobody is ever completely happy about something. There's always an area where you say, well, I'm not so sure about this, but if you really like it, then I trust your instinct. You have to trust other people's instincts if you're in the same family.
Like I heard that you had a lot of material to choose from, so that must have been difficult.
It wasn't, it's only difficult for the person who writes it, because you can come in with a song and it just gets voted no, and that's tough. You know, you can play a song for somebody afterwards. You know, like last night I was playing a song for somebody and he said to me, why isn't that on Revenge? I said, because everybody said no. So you can sometimes come in with songs that you think are great, but ultimately I think everybody together can make are better judges than one person. And for whatever reason, if you like something but everybody else thinks no, they're probably right.
Did you ever consider making it a double album or something?
No.
No.
Out of the question.
No, it's not out of the question. We've done stuff like that before. And to do that now would be to maybe try to make some sort of point. And there is no point except trying to put the best songs you've got at that time on the record. And there were 10 or 11 better songs than there were other songs. But we could have put out a double album and had, you know, some okay songs and some very good songs.
How about your favorite song of your own songs?
Out of all the albums?
All
or
the
just
albums, all the songs you've ever recorded? Or is it impossible to say?
That's tough. Out of all the songs we've ever recorded, what's the favorite Kiss song, or the song we wrote ourselves, or what?
It's such a simple question.
Or,
Yeah,
okay,
it's
go ahead.
starting
Or a
very
song that we
simple.
wrote that's slow, or
Slow or
a
a
slow
quick
song
one?
that fades.
Do you mean the guy who was in the studio drinking coffee? Do you
Was
mean
it?
on that album?
You mean... Okay, go ahead, you answer it. I'll watch.
What's your favorite song that you've ever written?
You first, wise guy.
Love Gun. It's very easy. What's your favorite song that you've written?
What is my
That-
favorite song that I've ever written, but that I was in there, but that I
A Kiss
didn't
song
like?
or
A
an-
Kiss song?
Yeah,
or
yeah. The
a
band
cover-
is called
a cover.
Kiss, right?
Deuce.
Okay, thank you.
Why didn't you ask me that question? I could have answered that.
Well, I've sort of tried to, you know, make it more complicated.
I'm here like this. A song that may have meaning, or a song that could be slow, or... Okay.
How about touring? Many people complain about touring. They hate it because you can't sleep and
It's great. It's tough. It's not easy. Anybody who tells you that life on the road is, oh, it's easy, they're lying to you. Or, you know, I mean, it's tough, but it's great. Things don't have to be easy to be good, you know. Making Revenge was not easy, but it was great. When we go on tour, it's work. You go out for 2.5 hours every night and sweat your ass off and, you know, work real hard, but it feels great and it feels really good. When we tour, we get a chance each night to get together with local friends. Whether it's in a city or a new country, we get a chance to spend the evening with the local, you know, family. And we try to make sure that we give them what they've been waiting for.
do you have still Kiss Army and very loyal fans all over the world? You meet the same people every time?
The Kiss Army exists. It's become a Kiss Nation. They number, who knows, in the many hundreds of thousands, but we don't really know how many there are. They're really not connected with us. They exist totally on their own. They have Kiss conventions. They have Kiss tribute bands. They publish Kiss fan magazines, all on their own. And every country that you can think of is represented. And when there's a Kiss convention, like the one that we went to recently in London, you have every nationality in there, and the borders and the differences in culture and language have nothing to do with it. They all still feel like they belong to the same family.
Great thing about the Kiss Army, the great thing about the Kiss Army now is that the Kiss Army is not run by us. We don't get money from anybody. It's not that kind of fan club. The best kind of army is a volunteer army. when people say, I want to be in the Army, I want to fight for what I believe in, KISS Army is a volunteer army. Everybody is there because they want to be there, not because we're saying join and we'll give you a T-shirt or send us $10.
And we don't give anything for it.
And we won't give you anything for it but a little card. KISS Army is a volunteer army, and that's the best kind.
How about the audiences in the world? Where's the best audience? Many people say that in Europe,
Finland.
maybe heavy metal
Probably
audience.
Oulu was the best
Probably.
audience.
Yeah,
too.
I've heard about that.
I love to
You
play
guys
with
freezing
gloves
down
on.
there, yeah.
It's always nice to play with a hat and gloves inside.
The,
Inside.
the coldest place we ever played was in Oulu. It was a, there
Still?
was a snowstorm
And it's
that,
been 4
that
years?
I ever remember.
Yeah.
4 years? No, we were there many years.
No, but
not
I heard this for the first time
there's
4
a-
years ago.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and after
it up.
that, you had never been in a colder place?
Never any
Oh,
colder.
gosh.
We
Really?
played indoors, and it was freezing outside, but indoors it was a hockey rink where there was still ice on the floor.
Yeah, they just cover
Yeah.
it.
And he
They
had
don't
to
wanna
play
melt
with
it.
gloves on, and when you sang, smoke came out of your mouth.
And you're going like this, you know, you're playing, you go,
Out of sync.
Unbelievable. And you could see the smoke rise from people just from the sweat.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you hear?
You know, you looked out into the audience and there's just steam coming off from the people. And that was absolutely the coldest place we've ever played. And we played in Alaska,
Oh, yeah.
outdoors. But it was, I think, in the,
Hotter.
in the spring, much hotter.
Oh, no. Well, we
But it
gotta
was
do
cool.
something about it. It was cool.
And
right?
back at the hotel, it was warm.
How about the changes in your lineup? How much has it affected your sound, or
it doesn't.
it doesn't?
Because it's all a continuation. Sometimes a member has changed, but the truth is that it was to continue the sound. The band today sounds very much like the band that started, because nobody who has ever come in is trying to take us into a different direction. It's like an army. Somebody comes in to fight the same battle as the soldier that's no longer there. So we never wanted to make any changes. But when someone in the band is showing disrespect for the audience, those people, and when someone in the band is not doing their job, or when they're doing drugs or drinking and compromising the band, then they must go. We would like the band to stay the same people. Bruce has been playing guitar now in the band 7 years, I think, and there's no reason he won't continue. Eric Carr was in the band for 11 years. It was not our choice. You know, it would never have happened, obviously, had we wanted it the way, had it been the way we wanted. But sometimes, in Eric's case, we had no choice because we lost somebody who meant a lot to us. But most of the other guys didn't deserve to be in the band. And if you don't deserve to be in the band, it's because you don't deserve the fans. And the fans are so giving. And if you show them disrespect, then you must leave.
Yeah, this seems to be a sort of a sad year. I was just at the funeral of Jeff Porcaro on Monday, and it's kind of a sad situation.
Well,
So
death is
unfair.
always sad. And it's more sad to people who know somebody well. And in the case of Eric, I think fans understood how much he cared about them. And Eric was the most devoted person to his fans. And we knew him on another level. That makes it that much more tragic.
How have you changed during these years? Are you still the same guys who formed this band?
I'm Gene now, and he's Paul.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. We have to change their titles.
How have we changed? I think you go through periods where you think you know all the answers, and the truth is you don't, and you never really do. And if you're ever really honest enough with yourself, you realize that you're only a piece of the puzzle, no matter how big you think that piece may be, and that without everybody else, the whole picture isn't clear. And I'm sure there were times that went by when I thought I was the king and he was nothing. I'm sure there were times when he thought he was the king and I was nothing.
Yes, Paul?
And the truth is,
I am the king, and he is nothing.
that is the truth. And every time you whether it's tragic or whether it happens because it's a natural order of events, when you get a new member that comes into the band,
Gotcha.
the truth is when you get a new member in the band, it makes you look at things a little differently, and all of a sudden somebody new comes in the band and says something, and you say, why didn't I think of that? For instance, Eric Singer, our new drummer, came in when we were recording the album, and he said something about the show. He said, why don't you do this? And we looked at each other and we went, yeah, why don't we do that? So a great idea can come from anywhere, and you have to realize that everybody's important to the whole.
How about the music scene here in LA? Well, you being around for so long and many other bands proves that there isn't much new talent, or am I wrong?
Well, there is always new talent. Maybe it seems like there isn't new talent because talent that isn't great doesn't last. There is always continually new groups. If you go to Tower Records, you can see, if you look at the new albums, there's hundreds. There's 150 albums at any given time, new releases. But when people say, oh, the older bands are still around because there's no new bands, there's many new bands. They're not good enough to stand the test of time. The good ones remain. There are always, every year there may be one or two bands that we will see for 10 or 15 years, but for that band there's probably 1,000 bands that are not worth the tape.
The most important thing in your lives and your dreams?
Freedom. Freedom's what it's all about, you know. Everything I think that we initially got into this for was so that we didn't have to play the game, the corporate game. We didn't have to work 9 to 5. We didn't have to wear suits, you know. So that's what, you know, it was all about. And to be able to play music and pay your bills and buy your car by making music is freedom. I mean, it's the ultimate freedom.